Hi everyone, I have a guest today. Lola left her favourite toy on the sofa, so I thought I'd pop the seal up there for you and you can listen to our story as well. I'm going to read chapter 21 for you, which is called The Hot Dog Minute, and I'm hoping this isn't going to fall. The Super Zeros floated gently towards the ground. Below them lay Ribbon Robotics, the tower at its far end casting a long shadow like a threatening, pointing finger. The concrete courtyard at the front of the factory was brightly lit by two huge floodlights. 5 yellow dots near the entrance gave away the position of Nectar's new slave standing guard, but there seemed to be few other signs of life. There was no sound and no sign of the Banshee. Mary started guiding them straight towards the building, but Murph hissed at her to change direction. "No, Mary, that way, that way." He was pointing across the road from the main gates where a closed-up burger van was parked. "Behind the van." Mary changed course, and the 5 of them made a soft landing on the pavement, shielded from any watching eyes in the factory by what they could now see was Large John's deluxe snack wagon. "Not an ideal time to stop for a hot dog, Murph, is it? And besides, they're closed," said Mary acidly. "I don't want a hot dog, actually," Murph retorted, realising that if there was one thing he really wanted right now, it was in fact a hot dog. "But we can't just go steaming in there. We couldn't stand a chance. We need a minute to work this out, right?" The other 4 nodded. He was right. "We could do this on every mission and call it Murph's Minute," said Hilda, liking the sound of it. "Or Hot Dog Minute," suggested Billy. "Murph's Minute's better," said Mary. "Can we focus, please?" pleaded Murph. "Right, let's see where we're at. The Banshee has crashed." Nellie let out a frightened sob. "But there's nothing we can do about that now," said Murph gently. "It's not ideal that Flora and Carl aren't here right now, but maybe it's not the only the Blue Phantom who can save us. Maybe we can do this ourselves." He paused. A brief pang of panic bolted through his belly as the magnitude of the task at hand dawned on him. For a moment, even he was unconvinced with the words he was saying. But he pressed on, hoping that if he believed what he was saying, they would too. "We've got to try," he went on, puffing out his chest. "Right, what's the situation we're facing?" "Evil man-wasp in factory," said Billy, surprisingly calmly. As he continued, he became less calm. Plus enslaved capability kids, and at least 2 enslaved teachers, and the rest of the school is held captive. It's not looking good." "It's okay, Billy. Deep breaths," Murph reassured him. "We can sort this. We just have to keep our heads and keep them the same size," he joked to diffuse attention. It worked. Billy let out a little chuckle as Murph continued. "So what's our mission?" Hilda piped up. "The Wasp Man must be stopped before he can take over the entire school and form a full slave army. We must storm the factory, defeat the hideous genetic hybrid, and save the day." Somehow she made it all sound quite matter-of-fact, using the same tone of voice she would normally use to say something like, "We must go to the meadow, pick some daisies, and make a delicate daisy chain to weave into my hair." It was at this point that Murph realised the other 4 were looking at him expectantly but confidently, as if he was their leader or something. Another little pang of panic lurched in his stomach, but to disguise it he asked a 3rd question. "And what do we have on our side?" "Flying," replied Mary, pointing at herself with the umbrella. "Ballooning," she went on, slightly more uncertainly, indicating Billy. "Weather," she added, waving her other hand in Nellie's direction. "And, horses. Tiny horses," she concluded. Hilda stuck her thumbs up. There was a moment of silence while they contemplated their powers and how they stacked up against heavily armed attack drones and powerful slaves. It's a good thing no one had told them the Wasp Man had stingers on his wrists. "Bravery," said a voice suddenly. Nellie had raised her head and was pointing at Murph. "Doing the right thing. Not giving up. Seeing things other people don't see. Helping us work together. Staying positive." "And blushing," added Mary, as Murph's cheeks went full-on traffic light red. Murph wasn't sure he really had any of those powers, but he made a decision back at his ruined house. He decided to mount this rescue mission, and although it had been a long time since Murph Cooper had decided anything, once the choice was made, he followed it through to the bitter end. His friends were relying on him. "All right," he told his team, trying to look more confident than he felt. "Huddle up. I think I know how we can do this." Behind the burger van, Murph's Minute, or the Hot Dog Minute if you prefer, concluded with a plan. "First thing," began Murph, wondering if rescue planning might turn out to be his cape after all. "If we're going to sneak in there without anyone seeing us, we need to get those lights off." The reception desk at Ribbon Robotics was run by a woman named Patsy McLean. Nobody was quite sure how long she'd worked there because nobody dared ask her. In fact, few people dared to speak to her at all because she was so incredibly rude and fierce. She had stiff black hair like a stuffed raven and a mean, pinched face that made her look like the sort of person who might actually grab a passing raven and stuff it without even asking nicely first. Patsy sat in the building's most comfortable chair, which she'd insisted on getting because she falsely claimed to have a bad back. She tapped away at her computer, sending staff members aggressive emails about tidying up their coffee cups at the end of the day, and she hated absolutely everybody except her cat Boris. That's Patsy there. Patsy McLean was unaware that the building had been taken over by a crazed genetic hybrid with an evil plan to take over the country. When a man in a yellow jumpsuit had led a large group of people through her reception area earlier the day, at gunpoint and with the help of 3 armoured drones, she hadn't asked questions. His security pass was valid, and that was all she cared about. A little later on, after all the rest of the staff had been sent home, 5 children with black and yellow eyes had marched back through reception and taken up guard positions outside. But Patsy had been busy composing a particularly unkind all-staff email about the state of the toilets on the first floor. And besides, she was due to go soon. She wasn't too bothered about the human drones unless they left a coffee cup lying around, in which case they were in real trouble. Upstairs on the 4th floor, Gary, the work experience intern, gazed out the boardroom windows overlooking the back of the building. The lights had come on as a layer of unexpected cloud had rolled in across the sky at the end of the day, and dusk had arrived early. It's going to be a lovely sunset, he thought to himself poetically, trying to ignore the fact that the rest of the room was so weird looking. The doors to the boardroom were guarded by several human drones in yellow helmets. Their black and yellow eyes gave Gary the creeps. The 2 remaining attack drones had landed on a table to one side where they were recharging at a wall socket. And not far away from him, near the main windows looking out over the front of the building, Nectar and Nicholas Knox were talking urgently in low voices. Brainwashed slaves, thought Gary. Small helicopters with flamethrowers. Evil wasp guy. Yep. Best just to concentrate on the sunset. His best friend from college was doing work experience at a chicken restaurant and was allowed free spicy wings at the end of the day. Gary very much felt that he had drawn the short straw. Spy drones indicate that the vehicle crashed somewhere off to the east, Knox was saying. Which way is that? Buzzed Nectar petulantly. He hated it when people talked about things happening to the east, or in fact any point of the compass, because he could never work out which way they meant. Mentally, he spelled out the word news, N-E-W-S, but then realised he didn't know which way north was, so it was absolutely no help. Over there, sir, just where you can see that large plume of smoke, said Knox oily. I have sent spy drones to establish who the intruders were, but I surmise that word of our attack on the school has been picked up somehow by other people with similar abilities. Nectar nodded intelligently, wondering what surmise meant. There was a loud crack of thunder from outside and a couple of fat raindrops slapped against the windows. I will go and garner drone reports with which to update you, continued Knox, but I suggest we prepare the facility for possible infiltration. Just then all the lights fizzed, flickered and went out as if they were voice-controlled, and the signal to turn off was the word infiltration. But that would have been odd. Yellowish emergency lamps turned on, mingling with the brownish-orange light from the thundery late-afternoon sky outside to give the room an unpleasant glow. Nectar looked round in a jittery way like a panicked wasp in a glass bottle. I'm going to my tower, Knox, he said nervously. Keep me updated as you annihilate all intruders, won't you? He pointed to one of the larger and stronger looking of the human drones waiting for his command. You, come with me and protect the entrance to my private quarters. And you, bold human drone, he pointed at the blank-eyed Mr. Flash. Go downstairs and guard the prisoners. You two, he instructed 2 other slaves, a girl with long dark hair and her handsome sidekick. Protect the outdoor doors to my sanctuary. Let no one enter. Kill anyone who tries. He indicated the large double doors at the back of the boardroom, the ones that led to his tower. The rest of you, assist Nicholas Knox in defending the building. What shall I do? Asked Gary in a hesitant squeak. Nectar pondered this for a moment. It's always difficult to know what to do with a work experience kid in this kind of situation. Oh, just wait by the hot drinks machine and see if anyone wants coffee, Nectar decided. And with that he swept through the double doors with his personal bodyguard and Mr. Flash and slammed them shut behind him. Cowgirl and El Bandido took up defensive positions outside, their wasp-coloured eyes blank and staring. Nicholas Knox sighed. Once again he was left to do the dirty work. Right, well, all remaining drones take up positions out there in the corridor. Don't allow anyone to exit the lifts. The other slaves marched woodenly out the door, ignoring Gary's squeak of, doesn't anyone want coffee then? Knox followed them, but didn't stop in the wide white area off the corridor where the lifts were. On the opposite wall, almost hidden by some large potted palms, was a small door to which only he had the key. He walked over and vanished through it, carefully closing and locking it behind him. At the end of Murph's minute, Mary and Nellie had been the first into action. Holding tightly to Mary's umbrella, the 2 of them snuck round to the side of the building, and when they were confident nobody was watching, not even one of the tiny robot wasps they could see zipping around, Mary flew them swiftly up to the roof. They landed at the exact spot Murph had pointed out to them, the corner where the electric cables from a nearby pylon snaked across the concrete roof of the factory. There should be a box or something up there where all the power goes into the building, Murph had told them. When you get there, Nellie needs to try and get a lightning bolt to hit. That should knock out the power. Then fly back down and we'll all work out how to get inside while it's dark. Nellie stood at a safe distance from the box, closed her eyes and concentrated, while Mary looked up and marvelled as the cloud directly above them boiled and thickened. Nellie held out her hand, palm upwards, gesturing towards the metal box where all the cables disappeared through the roof. She opened her eyes at the crack of thunder. Just as Knox was saying the word infiltration downstairs, which is a word that we realise sounds weirder the more you say it, a bolt of lightning shot down and hit the box in a shower of sparks. "Well done, Nellie," marvelled Mary. There was another gigantic thunderclap. "You can stop it now," Mary said. "I'm not sure if I can," squeaked Nellie, suddenly looking frightened. "Look out!" At that moment, another lightning bolt landed right beside them, and Nellie was blown backwards. She lay motionless on the rooftop, oblivious to the raindrops falling on her face. Mary rushed over to her friend. "Nellie, wake up! Are you okay?" But as she knelt down beside her, Mary heard a crackle from behind, along with a strong smell of burning. Horrified, she looked round and saw a tangled jumble of red-hot metal lying on the wet rooftop. A few seconds ago, this metal skeleton with sparks flying from it had been a bright yellow umbrella. Murph, Billy and Hilda peeked cautiously out from behind the burger van after the second lightning strike. The huge floodlights that had been illuminating the concrete forecourt of the Ribbon Robotics factory had gone out, but there was no sign of Mary and Nellie floating back down to join them. Squinting into the gloom, Murph could just make out the trucks that had been used to attack the school, parked not far from the main factory doors. Billy's ears inflated, a sure barometer of impending doom. "Murph," he whined, "something's wrong. Where are they?" "I don't know, Billy," hissed Murph, "but you need to stay calm. We lost Flora and Carl, but they can look after themselves. And the same goes for Mary and Nellie. We'll find them. But whatever's happened, we need to get in there." Billy's ears deflated slightly. "Come on then, this is the bit where we spring into action," Hilda piped up with the enthusiasm of someone who had imagined being on a rescue mission on approximately a daily basis and couldn't quite believe this was happening for real. The three of them broke cover and ran across the street to the locked gates. Murph noticed a control panel off to one side and realised they were electric. "The power's out to these things too," he whispered, pushing the left-hand gate and feeling it move slightly. "Help, quick," he ordered Billy, who got his hand in the gap and began pushing as well. Over by the building they could see the 5 guards. Hilda gulped. It was gangly Fuzzface and his friends. In his fright, Billy lost control and his hand abruptly swelled to several times its normal size, catapulting the gate open with an ear-shattering clang. "Intruders," intoned Fuzzface. "Prepare to attack." "Over there, move," Murph mouthed urgently, and all three of them sprinted the short distance to the first truck and disappeared behind it. Murph let out a small sigh of relief. Surely they were safe for a moment at least. Only someone with X-ray vision would be able to see them there. "Intruders located behind the vehicle. Prepare to destroy," droned Crazy Eyes Jemima, whose capability, although no one thought to mention it till now, was X-ray vision. "Understood. Preparing to destroy," answered Corned Beef Boy. They could hear his clumping footsteps as he moved ponderously across the courtyard towards them. A moment later, there was a creak and a groan as he picked up the entire truck and tossed it to one side as easily as if it had been a small ornamental gnome. The Super Zero scampered behind another of the trucks with the kind of speed you're only capable of when you're being chased by a brainwashed kid with incredible strength who wants to crush your head like a ripe blueberry. "Now located behind second vehicle, intruders appear to be cowering in fear," intoned Jemima. "Cheeky," whispered Hilda, although it was largely true. "Preparing to destroy," replied Corned Beef again, and began to stomp towards them. "We're gonna die," whimpered Billy, which was no help at all. See you next time for the next chapter.